fam, what are you talking about? Like, it's Friday night. Like, what are you talking? So he was like, I was at this lady's house today, and she's an assistant principal, and, you know, I told her, you know, my daughter is a teacher, and she said, well, give me her information. So I'm going back out to her house tomorrow. Make sure you got your stuff together. I said, okay. So printed out my resume, printed out my cover letter, left it on the counter. He took it, went to work, and that was it. That was in December. Months had gone by. I want to say it was June. I got a call. They're like, yo, would you be interested in coming in for an interview? So I'm like, okay, sure. I go in for the first interview. First interview went well. Got a call a couple of days later. We would like for you to come in for the second. I went in for the second. They're like, yeah, just make sure that you have your application packet with you this time. So I'm like, okay. So I go in for the second interview. I meet with, HR superintendent, and they hired me off of resume alone. They didn't know anything, didn't have like a physical copy of my transcript, my teaching cert, nothing. But they just, well, you did so well with your interview initially, and, this, that, and the third, we wanted to offer you the job, but we need to, definitely make sure you have the credentials. So I'm like, okay. And again, this wasn't a place that I applied for. It was, connections. And honestly, it was through God. Like, that's the only way that I could put it. And I was torn. I did accept the job, but I was torn for a minute, for a couple years, because I'm like, I'm leaving. I was at 3rd and Duncannon, Black student population, Cambodian, Hispanic, and most of the kids look like me. And I'm coming out to the suburbs, which is I born in Philly, but grew up from 6th through 12th grade in the suburbs. So I'm like, why am I back out here? Like, what are we doing? And once I started working with the kids, doing mentoring, that's when I gained a better understanding of why God had me back out in the suburbs.
Right.
My presence, our presence was necessary. And it was just like, okay, I get it. Yeah, and that's it. So 2006 up until now, I transitioned from the classroom in December of 2021, and I started counseling, and that's what my master's is in secondary school counseling. So I started counseling. So that's it.
Yes. Wow. So we were actually recording the whole time.
That's fine.
Yeah. So well, thank you for joining us. Nicole Street, thank you for joining us. This is one of my former classmates from went to school together. Graduated year apart. She went to West Cchester University. Yep. Always business type person. Always about the kids. Yes. So it's been a long process before I get her on here, the show. And your friend Marissa refers you.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
I was playing some guests. I'm like, oh, Shelli Pierce. Okay. So this is Shelli Pierce, everyone.
Hi.
So she's an educator, counselor, a great woman, just problem solver for our youth. Just talk about her journey to where she got to Abington, where she at now. But let's go back to the beginning. Yeah. What made you desire to be a teacher growing up? That zeal.
4th grade, Miss Geraldine Zachary was my elementary school 4th grade teacher, Black woman. And I think that she was the first Black teacher that I had. But very knowledgeable, very caring, very generous, but also could command attention. And I always remember this one time we had gone on a trip down in Center City, and the day of the trip, she came in with laryngitis. This woman still took a group of 4th graders, down into Center City. Everybody came back safe. Everybody came, but it was just her presence. Like, she couldn't talk to us, like physically couldn't talk. Still made that push and the effort because she didn't want us to not go on the trip.
Right.
But we respected her and we loved her so much that it was just like, all right, we know we got to be on our extra best behavior because she can't talk to us. She can't, raise her voice or anything to get our attention. But it was just the way, like, her presence and her knowledge and her care that she displayed. Fast forward to high school. And when I was in Cheltenham, I had an English teacher in 10th grade, Miss Keziah Latour. And she was the reason, I loved reading. I loved analyzing literature, all that stuff. Didn't have the best experience with my 9th grade teacher, but I had an amazing experience with Miss Latour. And she showed me that, like, you can be yourself. You can be your true and authentic self. And when I say that, I mean, she was, a Black and Hispanic female educator in the suburbs, but she was her. Wasn't putting on airs, she was authentic and genuine. And I appreciated that about her. And I don't know, I still love reading to this day, having those discussions and stuff like that. So when I got a chance to see that in action, I'm like, oh, I think I could do this. So I don't want to say the rest is history, but I spent, I guess, like 16 and a half years teaching English. And yeah, that was it.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I just said it's at Shelli High School because my nonprofit was at Shelli High School.
Okay.
We did it with the BSU.
Okay,
yeah, so,
okay.
Ariel, something her last name. I don't know if she's still there, but we enjoyed our time there. And that was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
We tried to get back there since, but the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
But that's an all cool connection. So you went to West Cchester University.
Yes.
Why did you go there?
I kind of chalked that to my cousin Jada, who was also a West Cchester. She's a West Cchester grad. I remember just driving her up to campus and walking around the campus and seeing that as like my first college experience. And I was like, ooh, I like it up here. She introduced me to the campus. I would say the Holy Spirit is what truly led me there. And I'm going to be dead up honest with that. I applied to East Stroudsburg and I applied to West Cchester. My mom and I went for visits. We went to East Stroudsburg one weekend and then the following weekend, West Cchester. Drove all the way out to East Stroudsburg, sat in the car, like we parked the car and I sat in the car and I was like, this ain't it.
No.
And my mom was like, what? I was like, this ain't it. So she's like, we haven't even gotten out the car yet. I said, okay. We got out the car, we walked around, got back in the car, and she ended up saying the same thing. This ain't it. But for me, like in retrospect, reflecting, it was spirit.
Right.
So same thing. We drove over to West Cchester, parked in the parking lot back at the Bull Center, and we parked at the parking lot in the Bull Center, and I was like, "This is it." Yep. And she just looked at me and was like, how do you know? I'm like, I know this is it, and that was it.
Right. It's funny.
That was
it's funny because when I experienced it, I went to West Cchester Mine, and in my sophomore year of high school, at that time, I was going to 10th grade. My mom put this point for that punch program. I didn't know what it was. I was like, get out of the house. I was like, get out of the house. All right, cool. Mind you, Scepter was still on strike at 98. So I had actually no finals, anything. All my grades and people was done. And I was home for like a month. Yeah. So we went to West Cchester for 2 weeks for this program. I like the campus. I was like, okay, I like the campus. Yeah. I met a couple people there. Then my side of college was that one. I was IEP. Okay. I know it's too far from my mom. Yeah. actually got accepted to Hampton University.
Okay.
HBCU.
Okay.
So I got full scholarship.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't even know about HBCUs, but I was like, but my mom knew about West Cchester.
Okay.
So me and my mom went up there for an open house on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Went up there, did the whole thing. My mom, I took the bus home. My mom was like, "You going there?" I'm going there. She's like, "Can I fit my mom? I'm the only child," and she was close.
Yeah.
She 1 bus away.
Yeah.
So it's like 1 full bus away, and she need anything, I can go right home.
Yep.
You know, so I went to West Chester. Love met you my freshman year. I saw all day, Kendrick, Skip. Yes. So, you know, and, you know, you was always positive, always energetic, always into education. That's like me because I was much you had at the time, and they weren't many people like us in education.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with. He's an author. Well, he's a teacher in Philadelphia, but he's also an author. And he and I think by the time we got through to the end of our program, he and I were the only 2 Black kids in the English ed. Yeah, he and I were the only 2. Like when we really like got into the concentration of the education classes, and more specifically for English ed, it was Matthew K. and myself.
Matthew K. Yes.
It was just the 2 of us. Like, okay, well, hey man, how you doing?
Yes.
That's how it rolled. But yeah.
And now looking back now, like all the people like I still have connected with almost 20 years later are doing extraordinary things. Even, you know, like I can see what's that? They doing this. They're doing this. I'm like all of them I knew. Like I knew on campus. I saw them on campus. They doing extraordinary things, and that makes me proud. I picked the right school. You know what I mean? Like, and then I had opportunity. I took 5 years ago doing it was the 40th year that MLK died. Okay. I took my kids to West University that day. Okay. So because I wanted to get them from outside Philly. Mm-hmm. They already know North Philly. Mm-hmm. I took them outside Philly. It was life changing for them. Yeah. The kids enjoyed the food. The food was different. They had food and the school I'm working with, I didn't pay for everything. Yeah. I didn't pay a dime. All my volunteers show up. Mike was there. We went up there. They loved it. The kids loved it. That was like, and the next year. That exposure. We went to Villanova and connect there. Okay. So connect there. Okay. We met one of the players there at the time. Okay. So, and I think we met, what's his name? He played for the NBA now. I think we met Cal Bridges. Okay. Yeah. Okay. He was drafted my kids when I was in grad school, because I went to Nova for grad school. So my students will always be like, "Yo, you know Jay Wright? You know this person?" I'm like, they were playing the time. I was like, "No, I don't." And I'm like, "Y'all don't understand. Like, I don't live on campus. I commute back and forth. I'm here with y'all during the day. I go to class and then I go home." That time we went, they were to the final. Oh yeah, no, they were definitely popping, and their name was definitely ringing. Yeah, Sky Reynolds. Yep. You know this person. You know this person. Like, we get some tickets. Right. That's what they kind of like get the hook up. I'm like, I don't know any of these people, y'all. I promise you, I don't. Yeah. So now you taught English for almost. I would say like 16. I guess it would be like 16 and a half years. This is I guess academically, this would be my 18th year as an educator. I started, it is. Right, it was really, like we graduated in May. I started teaching, I got my first teaching contract in August. Lord, that's glory to God. And it's, absolutely. So you did 18 years teaching. Why you want to transition to school counselor? Why not transition? So going back to understanding my why for being in Abington, it was revealed to me that we know Black people are everywhere. And it wasn't a very big Black teacher population in Abington. Right. So to be able to be that person or be that presence or be that voice at times
an advocate for Black students, I saw myself being able to be that person. Moving into counseling actually happened as a result of being a mentor to some of the students at the school. And I just really enjoyed like that one-on-one ability or small group ability to be able to help them with problem solving or give them an opportunity to just talk and vent and me listen, not necessarily, giving advice to them, but just let them, do their thing. Because we sometimes forget that kids, although they're kids, they're still humans, and we still have to be able to show them. You can't tell them like, well, you need to voice your opinion about this, but not show them or not give them the space to do it. So working with the kiddos as a mentor allowed for me to do that. And I felt like, okay, I could still work with kids as a counselor, but, I wasn't ready to leave the classroom. Mm-hmm. So I went through the whole program. I graduated, 2010. But I still took my knowledge and information that I learned from counseling and applied it in my classroom. Being able to connect with your kids, curriculum is important, don't get me wrong, but building that connection, that relationship, and knowing how to ask certain questions to get them to like open up or feel comfortable talking to you is important. Right. And then when they know that they're in a safe space, they don't mind showing up for you because you make them feel safe. So I was able to take that information, apply it, and that, from 2010 when I graduated up until 23 or 21, before I started counseling, I would utilize those skills. A counseling position was posted within my school. I applied for it. It was like, either you're going to get it or you're not going to get it. But I'm going to tie this all back to God because this is just how he rolls. Earlier in the summer of 2021, actually while we were home,
2020
during the pandemic, I had a conversation with God and I said, all right, man, I'm ready to come out the classroom now. I said, I'm ready. It's time. And I didn't know what that was going to look like. I knew I still wanted to work with kids. Didn't want to move into administration. I'm still not there yet, but if God has me to move in that way, I'll go. But he was like, all right. So I started the application process to different, schools and different school districts. Got to the second round, I think, of interviews for one school district. Was on vacation down in Virginia. They called, hey, we would like for you to come in. I'm like, oh, do I have to come in or can we Zoom? Nah, we need you to come in. I really want you to meet people, this, that, and the third. Okay, cool. Told my family what was going on. I mean, I'm in a house with 15 people. Okay, no problem. My brother says, I'll drive you up. We on it. So we drove from Virginia to Philly, did my interview, and drove back down to Virginia. I knew I didn't get the job, and I felt it. And I was right. I didn't get it. And it was okay that I didn't get it. I sat with my feelings for about a day, and then I had to look and say, wait, you wanted this job. I hear you. But at the same time, you're not in a place or in a position where you need it. You're still employed. You're still be able to pay your bills. You're still eating. You're still good. So you're still blessed. Right. You didn't get this particular thing yet, but it's okay. So, and that was fine. We sat down at dinner that night, about to say grace. My dad was like, don't worry about it. You'll be counseling by the end of the year. I said, okay. And I didn't argue. Because like sometimes people say stuff and you be like, all right, whatever. I just said, okay. And I received it. And that was that. And that was in August. October, that job posted. Interviewed for it in November. Started counseling in December. That was by the end of the year. That's how he rolls.
So my question, when you started December, what was that conversation like with the kids that as you was transitioning?
Oh.
The one that you're teaching at that time.
That was hard. I don't cry. I cry. I'm a crier. I found myself actually in the classroom in front of my kids crying. That was hard. I had a fantastic group of kids that year, and I mean phenomenal. I would not have expected or anticipated for things to have happened the way that they did, but it was an opportunity for me, and they understood that. But I just let them know, like, I put myself in a position for if an opportunity like this opened up, I would be okay. This is what education affords you the opportunity to do. And not necessarily the type of formal education that, you know, you and I with the 4 years and but if you have a skill set, you have a skill base, and it allows for you to branch out and do things that are going to be a little more or a lot more fulfilling for you, and you can go do it, go do it. If an opportunity is open for you, go do it. And that was a real conversation that we had, because they were like, well, who's coming in for us? Like, are we still going to see you, or is this going to happen? I'm like, I'm still in the building. You're still going to see me. I'm just not going to be your English teacher anymore. So we were able to make it through. I would see them. I avoided that side of the building for a while, though, because I didn't want them to see me and be like, hi, because they would, you know, like they would, and I didn't want to be a distraction to them. But when I saw them, you know, it was the same love as always. They understood it, and, you know, they accepted it. They, you know, a couple of them like, we don't like her. And I'm like, it's okay that you don't like her. You don't necessarily have to. It's fine, but, you know, sorry.
All right, and then now I see that you, by another degree, and that's good leadership. So,
yes.
So does that mean you are pursuing the path of principal, or? Not
at this time. No, not at this time. LaVon, I truly enjoy working with kids and working with families. And I've come to understand with education, when you move into administration, you kind of lose that. You lose it. So I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm not there yet.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
At some point, if I decide that this is the route that I would like to take, I have this degree now behind me, and I can go ahead and do that. But at this time, I'm enjoying the counseling. I'm enjoying still working with young people and their families, and it's more hands-on in this role than it would be as an administrator. So
okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. What's next for you?
In terms of, I don't know. Listen, this doctorate was a 5.5-year process, and a nice hiccup in there was COVID. But at this point, I want to just continue. I want to continue counseling until I'm called to do something different. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about doing something else besides teaching? Or this is your purpose? Like,
I feel like this is
your life's work.
This is it. And when I say, and I mean, like, even as a counselor, I'm still teaching.
Right.
So it's still in that same vein. I do think about working more with families, like outside of the school setting, to better prepare families for school. I've, come to find that we sometimes as Black folks don't always know some things that other people know.
Right.
When you're talking about education, when you're talking about opportunities that are present in education, we don't always have that information, the lingo, the support groups. And I want to be somebody who can, if you have questions, you don't understand something, you're concerned because the school's talking about, like, testing your child, and you don't know what an IEP is, and you don't know, okay, if I'm here, I want to be able to work with you. I want to be able to talk to you and walk you through what that process looks like. Still, again, I'm still in education, in that educator mode, but taking it to not just, in the schools, but outside, and being able to meet families where they are outside of schools, to be able to, give them the tools that they need for their child to be successful.
And I think that's needed, especially families going on trauma, and they don't
yes.
know. And I applaud parents get their child tested early. It's not a bad thing. Now, I got people say, go therapy. But now we're saying that, okay, it's okay to get your child tested because that will say a lot harder later. Okay, if I can address this now in the beginning, it won't be a problem later.
And so sometimes parents
are
afraid. There's a stigma behind testing. There's a stigma behind.
But your child takes tests in school, so what's the difference?
And the testing, right? And the testing doesn't necessarily is not to say, even if the testing shows like, okay, there's a deficit here in a certain area. If we can put certain, skills in place, or certain lessons or activities in place to help your child build on that deficit that they may have, you're putting them, like you said, in a place, in a space to be successful down the line.
Right.
So yeah.
So you didn't say you're a teacher, you're a counselor, an educator. What does Shelli do with self-care?
Shelli likes to take naps. Okay? I laugh as an adult because I remember being a kid and it being like, okay, it's nap time. And I'm like, I hate nap time. I hate going to bed early. I hate this. These are the things that I look forward to as an adult now. Like, absolutely love it. So I like naps. I enjoy going for walks. I enjoy yoga and meditation. I enjoy reading. I'm just getting back to a place where I have the time, but not always the energy. So I'm working on that too. I was spending more time with my family and friends. Like, being in school and working really kicked my butt. So, and there were sacrifices that were made, like family events, friend events. I couldn't necessarily go to all of them. Since my defense in November, I've been trying to show up more, and be present. And that gives me life when I'm able to like hang out with my nieces, my nephews, my friends. I'm still friends with Mel, with Tasha, with Peaches from West Cchester, definitely with Marissa from West Cchester. So if I get to see them, I get to hang out with them, like hanging out with their little people. And
that's crazy.
It's giving me life. So yeah.
It's about 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, like, I don't want to talk about it, but from when we started in 01. So it's been 22 years. It's been almost 22 years of friendship at this point. No. And Marissa was one of the first people that I met at West Cchester. Yeah, if she wasn't one of, she may have been the first person that I met at West Cchester. But so saying all of that to say, my self-care routine looks like naps, it looks like rest, it's spending time with family and friends, it is going for walks. And I mean, even now with allergy season being as crazy as it is, I'm still pushing to, get outside and go for a walk 20 to 30 minutes a day. And I'm like, I will, sacrifice a sinus headache for, my mentals in order to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. But yeah.
And my last couple of questions.
Sure.
What advice would you give to the younger Shelli?
Oh, gosh. I would have to say to a younger me, listen to me more. I'm getting older. Just turned 40 in March.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Wow.
And this has like been a lot of reflection over the last couple of months, and just acknowledging that I hear things. I don't want it to sound crazy when I say I hear things, but God talks to me. Even when I feel like he doesn't, he does. And I will hear him, but sometimes second guess. Is that you, God? Is that really what you want me to do? Is that really what you're saying? So when I hear that voice, that direction, or I feel that in my gut, that's God. Mm-hmm. Go with that more, and don't second and third and fourth guess yourself, because that voice, that gut instinct, that's the right thing. It's the right thing. So I would say that to me. And like I said, reflecting a lot. I've been hearing from him all my life, going all the way back to, West Cchester. Like I said, sitting in a parking lot at East Stroudsburg, this ain't it. That was God saying, this is not where I want you to be. Being at West Cchester and going to West Cchester and listening to him in that process, I've made lifelong friendships. I have, I got the knowledge base that I needed and the experience that I needed that led me to the job, that led me to the graduate program, the postgraduate program. But it's that voice. Just listen. God's voice. Listen more, yeah, and trust it. Don't second guess it. Right. Don't third guess it. Just trust it. That's what I would say to younger me. Yeah. And
where people can find more information about you?
Find more information about me. I'm pretty low key. I see it. Being an educator, and especially in this day and age, I'm already on public display in my job setting. So my personal stuff, I try to keep personal. So people I was looking for you on social media, I couldn't find you. I can tell you right now, you're not gonna find me because my accounts are private. But if anyone is interested in connecting with me on Instagram, I'm sorry, y'all. I do not know my Instagram handle off the top of my head. So please just give me a second. I'm sorry. It's DRPIERCE 2022, Dr. Pierce 2022. And that's my Instagram handle if anybody will be interested in connecting on Instagram. And that's the only social media that I have. I don't have Facebook, I don't have Snapchat, I don't have anything else like that. So if you're interested, hit me up. I'm there.
Well, Dr. Shelli Pierce.
Yes.
It's been good. Thank you
so much. Thank you for the invite and thank you for your patience. I have been the worst. Okay. Levon has been patient as all get out with me. Sis, I need your bio. And that was hard. Let me tell you, because to sit and be like, okay, talk about yourself. I don't know what to say. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. And I think that was one of the biggest hurdles that I had to overcome is sit down and write this bio and talk about yourself. And it was okay, all right. But Levon has been super, super patient. If anybody else, if he reaches out to you and says he would like for you to come on the show, don't procrastinate like me. Don't be like me. Get the information out to him. But now that you forced me to write my bio, I now have it. So I'm good to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good to go. Never know when I might need it again. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, but it's been an honor to
have you. Thank you so much.
Almost 20 years. Yeah, life has happened.
Yes.
God has blessed you immensely.
And you too. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So hopefully we connect. Maybe we can talk outside. We can talk about opportunity. We can, bring my program to Abington.
And look, I do work with. I am one of the co-sponsors for a minority leadership program at my school. So we will definitely need to connect.
Yeah. All right, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.
Thank
Don't
you.
Sit serious. Don't sit serious.
Yes.
Enjoy yourself. Be blessed, y'all.
Take care.